Hey guys, it's me, your girl FABFOLA, and today I decided I'm going to talk on a topic that is a real sore subject to me, but I feel like I need to talk about it. That maybe it can help somebody at some point, and talk about the daddy issues that I've had, and I'm going to talk about a specific section of those daddy's issues. Um, when I let's see, when I decided to divorce, it's already an issue. Coming from a Christian background, coming from a Nigerian background, in my culture, it is extremely frowned upon. It's not even something that I thought that I necessarily ascribed to, but at the end of the day, it is what happened, it is what transpired. And I know I would receive judgment from a lot of people, including my family. But what it did for me personally was it created an extra layer of hate between me and my father. I grew up in a full family. My parents were married for way over 3 decades. My mom's passed several years ago, but they were married for a long time. So they were able to celebrate longevity in marriage. Needless to say, my dad has always been present in my life physically, but as far as emotionally and in other ways, not so much. So my relationship with him was what seemed to be fine, at least to me, for most of my life. But with my mom passing and with me going through that one life event, it seemed like it was just the end of the world for him, because he just became almost a different person. And this is coming from being the only child of 5 children that actually did marry and did stay married for a decade and did bring his grandchildren into the world. It didn't matter. It did not matter. I was highlighted as the worst child. Divorce was seen as the worst thing that you could do, and I was pretty much shunned from my family at that point. What was interesting to me was later on, actually just last year in 2019, I discovered that my dating life reflected my relationship that I had with my father all this time. And I discovered that in ways that I never saw before. One golden example of that is I've always dated Nigerian born men. So I've always dated men that have the same or similar indoctrination as my father. And I didn't really even start to scratch my head about that until recently. All these years had passed by, and I'd always wondered why I didn't pursue anyone that wasn't Nigerian born or take it seriously. But then last year it came to my mind that the reason for that was just this idea that it was almost as if I was using these relationships with these Nigerian born men to resolve the void and the issues that I had with my father, not even knowing it. I was trying to fill that void of lack of acceptance from my father by dating these men. And not to say that they weren't my preference naturally, or preference because that's what I obviously go for, my type. And there's nothing wrong in that being my preference or type, trying to keep the culture together or whatever other reason or excuse I have for dating just solely Nigerian born men. But at the end of the day, I realized it was deeper than that. And I realized that part of it, a big fraction of it was trying to please my dad, trying to live up to his expectations and standards for me. And not really even being conscious or realizing that there was some toxicity in that, because I mean, I would never compare, but if we really want to compare, me compared to my 4 siblings, guys and girls combined, Nobody else was marrying. Nobody else was in long-term committed relationships. And only one of my other siblings had another grandchild. Outside of that, so then the comparisons became even deeper and more hurtful. And even to this day, I am working on dealing with this, being a subject of ridicule and being coined the worst child in my family. Like, I still deal with it. And I had to come to terms with, even just recently in 2020, I had to come to terms with deciding to forgive my father, even though he wasn't apologizing. Deciding to forgive him because in some ways he's doing his best, and on the other side of that extreme, I just have to chalk it up as pure ignorance, and just, he's not going to change. He's an older, elderly man. He's not going to change. This is who he is, and it is what it is. I have to just love him from afar, love him the best way I can, and just keep him moving. Because at the end of the day, even though I don't believe in divorce, I divorced, and that's my reality today, and I have to deal with everything that comes with making that decision. And I don't have a problem with coming to terms with that decision that I made. It's just that I'm the subject of ridicule by the whole community, as specific, and also my father. Now, I don't necessarily care about being judged by the whole community, because at the end of the day, they're going to have something to say regardless. You could be married for 25 years with 10 kids. They're going to have something to say. You could be separated. They're going to have something to say. They will always have something to say, especially in my Nigerian community. At the end of the day, I can deal with that. It was just my dad that it took a long time for me to come to terms with the fact that he just isn't going to change. And I have to be okay with it. So today I can say with a little more confidence that I actually have come to terms with where my dad stands. And I've even told him directly that I forgive him and I love him from afar. And it is what it is, because I have to keep moving. And, you know, a lot of people that are watching this video, friends, associates, unbeknownst to me, knowing people that I know, people that I don't know, may not agree with it, because, you know, when you marry, you don't want a divorce. You don't want to, it's just not something that you look forward to at all. But at the end of the day, it does happen. And on this side of divorce, I need people to realize that we need to stop judging each other. Divorce is not a death certificate. Your life does not end at divorce, no matter what age you divorce. There's people getting married for upwards of 25, 30, 40 years, and they're deciding to part ways. And at the end of the day, let them take it up between themselves and God. Stop being so judgmental. And it's amazing to me that it comes from a lot of people who have not been married nearly as long as the people that divorced. It's just weird to me. Like, you have so much room to judge. Anyway, I just feel like it's not a death sentence, and so life goes on. And this is not to discredit the 10 years that I was married, because to me that counts for something. You know, it does count for something. And I have those experiences to take along in my journey, because my journey continues. It doesn't stop. It doesn't end. You know, I still talk to my child's father. I still respect the relationship for what it was during the time that it happened. And I really have no hard feelings. Even if he, at some point, decides he wants to have hard feelings about it, I personally don't have any hard feelings, because life goes on. Now, it took me a long time to get here, but life goes on. It has to go on. You know, I think that also another indoctrination is, you know, faith-based indoctrination that says that, you know, that almost pumps this story or this storyline for you, or projects it on you, that you have to, like, your life just ends, and that, you know, your life after divorce is just about getting into the next marriage and remarrying, and, you know, that's the success story. But at the end of the day, in real life, you might end up being by yourself indefinitely. And I need women and men to know that it's okay. That scrutiny and judgment is not okay. We need to stop pumping these ideas down each other's necks. Ideally, of course, we want people to succeed in marriage. Of course, we want their marriages to remain successful, for them to grow old together and be able to tell those stories of building a beautiful family, which in my opinion, personally, in my opinion, and you may not agree with me, it requires, and I don't know specific statistics, but making it in marriage, making it decades in marriage requires, people generically say it requires a lot of forgiveness, but more specifically speaking, it requires that you're able to go through the ups and the lows of being financially inept, financially depleted. It means the going through the highs and the lows of possibly being cheated on and more than one time, and getting to the other side of that where you decide that you want to continue regardless of the fact that you've been cheated on by someone you love dearly. This is what it takes to make it in marriage. I say this to say that even thinking back, could I have stayed in my marriage? Of course I could have. It would have required that I have a high level of tolerance for those two examples I just gave. But I made a choice, and I have to live with the choice I made, and I'm doing fine doing that. It's just that when others come and try to insert their 2 cents, that's when it's just like I have to defend myself and say, yeah, I get it, but I'm okay. I'm okay, and I'm going to be okay. So what's some other points? So really, that's really it. We just need to come from a more compassionate place. Sure, there's some certain people's situations that are easier to scrutinize and judge than others. But at the end of the day, have some compassion. Realize you don't know people's stories. The only people that will know their stories are themselves and the people that they've gone through it with, as well as God. And that's enough. People don't always need your 2 cents. Sometimes it's okay to keep it to yourself. Unless it's a conversation that's being opened up on a platform where you guys have all agreed to talk about it openly. I mean, that's a different story. Anyway, I think that's it for now. I will continue to elaborate over time portions of my story, but I also want to know what you think. I also want to know what you gather from this, outing of my information. And I also want to know what other questions do you want me to answer? What other topics do you want me to speak on? Because this is the very beginnings. This is a really rough sketch of the beginnings of my channel. So I need to know where you want me to go with this, because it's not about me. It's about other people. It's about my audience. It's about people that want me to speak on topics that are relevant to them. This is what I'm here for at this time. So with that said, make sure you subscribe so I can build up as I get started on this YouTube journey. And also feel free to inbox me on Instagram, DM me, that is, email me. All the handles are FABFOLA. That's FABFOLA. So that's it for now. All right. So make sure you tune in with your girl Fab next time. See you soon. Bye.